Hello, everyone. You're watching LASOS, and I'm Cynthia Nickerson. This is a program, LA Strategies or Solutions, program of the Institute for Public Strategies, and specifically the West Hollywood Project. And of course, as you know, marijuana has really taken off in all of the states that have legalized it so far, and that, of course, includes California. But we're seeing some very, for lack of a better word, frightening practices regarding marijuana. And joining me today to talk about it is Tomas Robles with the San Fernando Valley Partnership. Good afternoon, Tomas.
Good afternoon, Cynthia. Thank you for inviting me.
Certainly. All right. Specifically, your organization is doing some work around butane and its harmful effects when the attempt is made to mix it with marijuana. Can you explain that?
Yeah, no problem, Cynthia. We're in the San Fernando Valley Partnership, we really started to look at some of the unintended consequences of legalization. So one of the biggest things that we've seen kind of as legalization has happened is that the consumption of concentrates in particular has become something really popular amongst youth. So there's a variety of ways that youth get these concentrates. And one of the things that we've identified is that there's a lot of home-based production happening. So when we refer to home-based production, we're really talking about individuals using materials that can be found at smoke shops to be able to produce some of these concentrates. One of the most common ways of producing concentrates is the use of butane, so butane extraction. So there's usually a butane canister in place, as well as this extraction tube that's usually used. Folks usually fill it up with cannabis. This is not real cannabis. So they'll fill it up with cannabis and then put it through the process or make the cannabis go through the process that allows it to separate the THC from the actual flower. What happens here is that a lot of youth or individuals that are not trained to do this process is that they end up blowing up their homes or burning themselves severely, as well as often leaving a lot of contaminants within these actual products. And that's why we're really concerned, particularly around the production of butane honey oil at homes or in homes.
How can you explain some of the really harmful stories that you've heard in our area, in either San Fernando Valley or just Southern California in general?
Yeah, so particularly, so the National Drug Threat Assessment actually from the DEA actually reported there being 174 extraction labs in 2018. One of the most recent explosions that folks may remember is something that happened in downtown LA, where a lot of firefighters were actually severely burned. And that was because there was a location that was storing lots of butane canisters. So without there being any actual clear signage, anything notifying the individuals or the firefighters that this was a very problematic space. So we are seeing a lot of that still happening. And that's by far one of the biggest cases that we've seen across our city.
Yeah, this is really disturbing. And forgive me if this is kind of an elementary question, but is it done to get a better high, so to speak? Why do they do that?
Yeah, so particularly the reason that folks use butane to extract concentrates is because it allows for there to be a high yield. So aside from the potency, which is something we're starting to see a lot with the cannabis concentrates, so there's a large increase in the potency of the products as well as a high yield. So folks opt for this solution or this process to get more of the product and then be able to resell it. A lot of the products that are actually being found or the concentrates that are being found can also be put into the actual vaping cartridges. So in certain locations in downtown LA, you can actually purchase empty vaping cartridges, which make it easy for youth or any individual who wants to profit off of this to kind of go about this. And that's what we're really concerned about, these materials that allow for the production of cannabis concentrates in an unregulated space.
Okay, so the magic word, regulation. What's being done to address this, specifically your organization and the larger work group?
So particularly from our organization, we're starting to look at how these incidents are playing out in our community. So we're looking to really conduct an assessment within these spaces to learn more about these issues and how they're proliferating into our communities in general. In terms of the actual regulation, there is a lack of regulation, particularly for the sale of these products, mainly because it's something that's very new. So as the market has legalized, we're seeing an evolution of products as well. And that's where we see a lot of these gray areas in terms of regulation.
And what can parents do if they suspect their youth is not only using marijuana, but maybe veering off into these kinds of processes?
So for parents, we really encourage them to be cautious. So if parents are seeing butane canisters laying around, that should throw off some
Mhm.
red flags as well as packaging. Often, a lot of the packaging that is used in the illicit market is packaging that doesn't look like something very harmful. Right here, we have a couple of cherries,
Mhm.
right? So very friendly. And
Mhm.
then we have as well as chronic cards with has a gusher. So for parents, really being vigilant, really staying up to date with all these new products that are coming out. And if you do see your child coming across with any packaging that looks like candy but is a
Mhm.
little weird or
Mhm.
has the letters THC in it, speak up, have a conversation with them. And remember, sometimes it's not about scare tactics, it's about informing the youth about the real dangers that they can experience when they consume these products.
Yeah, because obviously an explosion potential is life threatening, and not only for that young person, but everybody in the neighborhood. So we definitely don't want that. Um, Tell me the next step in terms of advocating for tighter regulations.
In terms of advocating, I think that's still something we're trying to really figure out. But the main thing is really working with schools, these locations that are experiencing these unintended consequences. A lot of it really is because of the illicit market. So the
Mhm.
more we can transition or really fully regulate what's happening, the more we'll be able to kind of address this issue collectively. But for parents, folks that are also working around this, really staying up to date with these products and making sure that we're addressing the root causes of these issues.
And what websites or information, where can they go to get additional information?
For parents, the most important thing I recommend really visiting the National Institute of Health. The Department of Public Health also provide has some information around cannabis, and sometimes I also encourage parents, if you feel brave enough, if you have the confidence, step into a smoke shop, step into a cannabis dispensary, because these things are operating in our communities, and the more we see the products, the more we know about these things, the more we'll be able to have a really good solid conversation with our youth and our community members as well.
All right, makes a lot of sense. And we hope that efforts are made by organizations and advocates and parents also to get a handle on this so we can make it safe and healthy for everyone. Tomas, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation. And the West Hollywood Project looks forward to getting more involved and trying to come up with solutions.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. We really appreciate the opportunity.
All right. And that'll do it for LASOS for this particular show. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, for more information, check out our social pages.